have quite enough coffee there. That was just a little wake up. So, Doc, I'm going to give a heads up in the back of about 10 minutes, and then we'll try to have time for questions.
All right, I'll ignore you.
Like usual.
Yep.
Just make sure your thing is up high enough. And
Yeah, I'll try this again. I don't think he had it on.
And the volume should be up on there too.
Hold your ears. I don't think it's going to work. Thanks. Probably. I don't know. Could you hear him? Wave if you could hear. Nobody's moving. Okay. Can't hear anymore. I like it. So, well, thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it. Had a nice drive up here. Nice cup of coffee. Took a nap during Dave's talk, and ready to go. So, a couple disclaimers. One, I was putting this talk together, and I realized it was a lot of numbers. So I'll try to point out the big ones and go slow enough so Dave can understand so we don't lose them. The second thing would be, when I go through talks or even when I go through farms, I've been labeled as maybe getting a little chippy or a little unfiltered. In the dairy climate, there's some big numbers, big parameters, big metrics you have to be hitting. And if you're not hitting them, okay, those are the folks that are finding themselves being pushed out of the industry. Okay, and it's kind of brutal, it's kind of cold, but that's the climate we're in. Okay, and I have a farm I work with down in Adams County, and he says, hey, the reality is I'm trying to do this better than my neighbor. They're my competition. So, and Mary Ledman said it best, she's a dairy economist. You know, the idea that everybody has the right just to sell as much milk as you want and think we're going to get paid for, you should get paid for it enough to actually, we all get paid enough to actually keep making all this milk is maybe a little bit far-fetched, okay? So maybe not the way you wanted to start it up, but when I go to farms, that's kind of my speech. Here's the things we need to focus on. This is where you need to work so you continue to be able to prosper in the industry. So key performance indicators to maximize income over feed cost. You have to define what we're going to talk about, and I'll start by that first. So income over feed cost, really it's a gross margin concept, okay? So we're very simply looking at the milk production from our farm, and it can be from a single cow, a group of cows, or the entire farm, okay? Then the value of that milk, or the milk price, and we subtract from that our feed cost per day, and that gives us our income over feed cost. So it gives you an idea of how much money you have left over at the end of the day to pay all your other bills. To pay the vet, okay, to pay your loans, to pay what you take away for your family to live on. So it's critical, okay? And we do this because feed typically accounts for 40 to 60% of your total input costs, all right, and sometimes 70 depending on market volatility. What this does then is allows us to make informed decisions, okay, about our feed purchases, our contracting, and then how we adjust rations, okay? And too many times, often than not, we just kind of let those decisions slide by and don't really pay attention. Why are we doing certain things in the ration? Okay, what's the impact we're going to see? We just go, oh, okay, we'll just let it go. We're going to try something, and 6 months down the line, we never looked at the impact. Okay, we just keep feeding it. Maybe or maybe it doesn't work. So try to give you some parameters to evaluate that. So simply way to do it is if our milk price is $19.59, okay, and that's per hundredweight, I usually just put it on a pound basis. Okay, so just move everything over to the left of the decimal place. Just do it by a pound. And our feed cost is $5.90 a day, so we take our milk price, okay, times pounds of milk and subtract our feed cost, and our income over feed cost on this farm is $9.77. This was the Penn State Dairy in 2015. So I didn't make it up. So why do we look at income over feed costs and not income over your bank payment or income over your vet bill? Well, this is one of those tornado graphs, and mine is way better than Dave's. Look how tall it is, much, much taller. It just means there's more stuff for you to delve through. I'm going to look over here. I can't see past all this signage. So this is actually data from the Penn State Extension, okay, when they do their on-farm cash flow. There's 110 farms in this group. All right, and what it does is our total cost to produce per cow in our dairy, okay, they average just around $4,800 per cow. All right, so all our costs on our farm, all these costs that you see on the left add up to right around $4,800. What we look at then is break apart all those individual inputs. Okay, so the top one is milking cow concentrate, so it's purchase feed on your farm. Okay, if we change that value by 10%, look at the impact it has on our cost of production per cow per year. That's why we care about income over feed cost. It has the biggest impact on your cost of production per cow per year. So some of these things that we always get worked up about, okay, and I'm from a dairy farm. I've complained about the vet bill. I've complained about how much spray costs or the insurance. Okay, if we do some things to cut off 10% off our spray bill, our insurance, some of our dairy customs, so this is the hoof trimmer generally, it has a very, very small impact on our cost of production per cow per year. So what you can't do is limit something down here that has big returns on. So we're not going to trim feet, we're going to skip the hoof trimmer. Okay, I understand you have to pay for it. Okay, it's money out of your pocket to pay for it. But that has huge ramifications on our income over feed cost, how much milk we're going to make. Okay? That's why we care about income over feed cost and its effect on our cost of production. So the big ones are milking cow concentrates, purchase feed, and then here's loan payments, principal and interest, family living, how much feed we purchase for our dry cows and heifers, and then labor. Here's milk hauling. We all get fired up about milk marketing. That's way down here. Okay, not too bad, $70 per cow per year. That seems to move around. It depends on your co-op. All right, so give you an idea where to look. Hey, here's seed, right here. It's kind of close to the top, but not huge. So, determining our income over feed cost break even. So what we're looking at is saying, we know our income over feed cost is X amount of dollars per day per cow. What is our cost on the dairy that has to cover? Okay, so essentially what we do is we take all our other expenses on the dairy. So this is a dairy, $18 per milk, 276 total cows, 240 of them are milking. All right, we added up all our expenses for the year, okay? That's right around $1 million. All right, that's our total outflow. We subtract from that our purchase feed because we've already accounted for that in the income over feed cost. And then we also take out our non-milk income, bull calves, call cows, if you had any crop sales. All right, and we can figure that out, how much money we have to make per year. So this is how much income over feed cost we need after we paid for our feed on this dairy. We need around $687,000 to pay all our other bills on this farm. This is just an example farm. Okay, it's one we were at a few months ago. This is how much they need per month, so just divide it by 12. This is per hundredweight, and then from that we can figure out per day per cow. All right, and the extension has great tools to help you work through this. We can give you the contacts. All right, you need to know this number. So if you figure out your income over feed cost at the end of the day, and it's $7, and your break even is $7.85, you have a problem. Okay? So, at the end of the year for this farm, looking at this cash flow, they should have around $90,000 of surplus. Now understand, this is a projection, and the milk price moves like this, and your pounds move like this, but you really need to be positive about that much to withstand some of these changes in the market. So I have a couple of these things highlighted. This was a farm that this was their goal plan. All right, this is what we were looking at. This was their anticipated loan payments for the year. But then guess what happened? The neighbor's farm came up for sale. Can't resist it. Okay, we looked at it. You probably shouldn't buy it. Okay, we're going to have to do something to help you pay for that. Well, despite the best advice, basically what it did was added $100,000 onto their loan payments per year, okay? So now we're north of $700,000, and our break-even cost went up to just about $9 per cow per day. All right, so this cash flow is no longer positive. Now the idea should have been, you look at this first and say, this is where we are. Can I afford that farm? No, probably can't. Or the tractor, or whatever you're looking to buy. Rather than, hey, I bought it, make this work. Does that happen? So then my answer becomes, so what do you have to do to create that project? What are your suggestions for to improve the cash flow on this dairy? What should we tell them to do? What are ways we can increase income on the farm? So I already showed you the costs are fairly well controlled. Okay, we know we can't lose milk. So we're going to have to do really one of two things. Okay, milk price is what it is. You make, what did Dr. Galligan tell you? What are the two biggest things that are going to drive your income? Milk price, then it's milk yield. All right, milk yield is difficult to move. Okay, it just doesn't happen like that. Chickens, poultry, you can change average daily gain really easy. They turn over every 3 months. Dairy is more complicated than that. So it's milk pounds and then it's milk more cows. I know what you're saying. You're contributing to the problem. Right? We have too much milk. I understand that. But this is dairy. Okay? So this was the difference. So what did we put together for the farm? We put together for the farm, they were originally milking 240 cows, adding 10 more cows, and 2 more pounds of milk. Can we do 2 more pounds of milk? Yeah, we thought we had 2 more pounds of milk there. All right, made some adjustments, actually went to some grouped feeding. They were able to capture that. That change makes the budget work. 10 more cows for that farm supported buying the other farm. Okay, these are drivers behind the income over feed cost break even. And then you can see that brought our break even down to $8.55. Look over here again, the king sign's in the way. And then there's the total milk price break even. Got it down to around $17 from 18. 17 is probably where you have to be competitive moving ahead. So profitability mechanics, what drives profitability on dairy farms? There's really 3 numbers you can kind of manipulate, okay? The first is going to be your milk price per hundredweight. Milk quality, milk components, and then risk management. Okay, forward contracting, those type of things. The MPP is not a risk management. It flopped. It is what it is. Milk per cow per day. Okay, repro efficiency, forage inventory and quality, feed management, ration formulation, and cow comfort. We're going to go through each one of those. I'm just going to give you a couple numbers on each one. Really, these are the metrics you need to be hitting to maximize that. And then lastly, okay, number of cows in your operation. So again, that comes back to reproductive efficiency, your heifer management, rearing, your calling strategy, and then transition cows. So when you work through this, and you can do this really simply on your farm, you take your milk price, okay, time the number of cows you're milking, and that gives you the total output for your dairy per year. That's the big number, okay, the one you're focusing on. This is number of hundredweights. Okay, and then your milk sales per cow, okay, just the number of cows multiplied by milk per day. This is cows in the tank, okay, so when we say 240 cows, that doesn't mean you dump 5 cows and then you have 235 cows and make 76 pounds. It's a huge difference. We saw what 10 cows did for this farm. All right, supported another $100,000 with 2 pounds of milk. The 2 pounds of milk being the bigger driver. So this whole profitability mechanics, how this works, becomes critical. So if you take a picture of anything or want something to send, this is kind of like my checklist when I go to farms. All right, you work down through these things. So the first thing we'll look at, talk about briefly, we won't dive into it, is reproductive efficiency. It becomes so when we looked at our income over feed costs, we looked at pounds of milk, okay, and then number of cows. This is the easiest way to drive that number. It's a big driver behind the income over feed cost. So your goal for your pregnancy rate should be greater than 25. The Pennsylvania average is still 18%. It continues to lag. Not days in milk, not calving interval. Okay, those are both affected by when you sell cows. You can have good days in milk, but it just means you sell problem cows early. Okay, so it's pregnancy rate. So pull out your DHIA report and see what your pregnancy rate is. If it's below, if you're getting down into the teens, okay, get help. Have somebody look at it, help you work through it. And the problem about this is comparing a goal of a 25% pregnancy rate versus 18%. It's $153 per cow per year. That's lost milk, okay, lost animals, replacements, because we're assuming you won't be able to keep your barn full at 18%, okay, and then calf sales. So that's reproduction in one slide. And this is a 16 to 24 month process to fix this. So what hurts me the most is farms I went to 2 years ago and we had this talk and laid out a plan to fix the pregnancy rate. You go back and visit them and they're still in the teens. We just didn't do it. Well, and now we're at this place where we don't have enough cows, the milk production's too low. There's not a whole lot I can do for you. So that, I mean, that's really become an industry standard, the pregnancy rate being greater than 25%. So next we're going to look at heifer management. Dr. Galligan talked a little bit about this. This was a good question, how young's too young. So the recommendation we give is age at first breeding's 13 months, so they're big enough to breed at 12 months, you breed them at 13 months. All right, and that puts your first calving right around 22 to 23 months. The average, Dr. Galligan was talking about this, here's a farm, this is their graph. So here's 24 months. Okay, you can see what percent of animals calved less than 24 months and what percent calved greater than 24 months. But the average is still 24. So on this farm, they had 70 heifers, or 29% of them, that calved over 25 months. Their comment to me was, we have too many heifers. We can't have any more, even though their cow size was shrinking. Well, we need to get on the ball and get them inseminated early, because really over the course of the last year, you've had 70 animals that have been in your system that didn't need to be there. They should have been in the barn milking. Okay? This is probably the opportunity, heifers, for heat detection systems. Cows, we can control that with sync programs. Heifers, they become a little more difficult to watch. All right, that's probably your opportunity for heat detection systems. And then that number, looking at this, Dr. Galligan showed you this too, the dairy heifer, the value of calving at a younger age at first calving. So that herd was carrying 94 heifers where they really should only had 80. We haven't even looked at the feed cost yet of carrying 14 extra animals. It's about $70 per month, roughly. That affects that break-even price we were talking about previously. So next we're going to talk about calling strategy. Early lactation, less than 30 days, should be less than 5%. All right, if it's more than that, start having someone look at it. Okay? And just overall, call rates can be very misleading. A call rate of 20% actually means one of two things. To me, you're doing a really good job, we just don't have that many replacements. Okay? Or second, we're hanging on to cows that we shouldn't be because we don't have somebody to replace them. Okay? A 50% call rate, and there are herds that do that. This herd I'm going to show you here has a 50% call rate, lots of heifers. Okay? Now, it could be because they have really good breeding or because they're using sex semen. Okay? Sex semen can kind of become a crutch for a bad repro program. You can have lots of heifers coming in, but you're still not flipping cows through the cycle fast enough. So the strategy on this farm, I'm just talking about calling, just as an idea, this is a theme we see pop up with sex semen and we have lots of first lactation animals coming into the herds. Okay? 35, 40, 45% of our herd is first lactation. Okay? Second and third lactation animals typically milk 3,000 to 5,000 pounds more per lactation. Okay, so the idea that you took this heifer, you raised her, you put the money into it, you need to milk her is actually incorrect. To me, your dairy's like a team. Okay, you want your best players on the team. And if it means you keep a second lactation animal and move a heifer instead of letting her into the herd, you do that. Okay, and that's also a marker for how well you manage your cows. You want that second lac or third lactation or fourth lactation animal to be productive enough, to be taken care well enough that she can actually contribute to that level. So looking at this herd, it's maybe a little hard for you to see. I'll point it out. 110 milking cows, and their 305 average was right around 26,000. Okay? They were, what's that say, 60.6% first lactation. Their idea was, hey, we have heifers coming, let's sell cows. Okay? Looking at that, they were 30% second lactation and 11% third lactation. So we made this was in September 2013. So we made the decision, hey, let's flip that. Okay? So we did that. So looking by October 2014, okay, we took our 305 ME heifers and kept the best ones. So a year later, we were 40% first lactation, down from 60, and they really didn't milk that much better. It's a little hard for you to see back there, but just flipping the dynamics of the herd raised the 305 up to right under 29,000. So in a year, they were able to flip that, okay, just by making sure we were keeping the correct animals. So then you can compare the income over feed cost to the herds on those 2 different days, and we did this. In September 2013, they were averaging 95 pounds. Okay, a year later, 106.3. Now they do eat more feed. Okay, the herd went from 52 pounds of intake to 55. There's some illusionary metrics here, but this is a good time to talk about it. Our feed cost per hundredweight actually was the same. So you look at that and say, that's about the same. Or excuse me, here it is, 648 and 645. Our profit per hundredweight was about the same. How much money we're making per 100 pounds of milk. The difference is we're shipping more hundreds. Okay, so don't look at your dairy operation per 100 pounds of milk. That needs to go away. That needs to go away soon. The way to look at it is your income over feed cost. So at 95 pounds, they were making just under $12 per day. At 106 pounds, they were making $13.34. That's the right decision. Okay? It's income over feed cost driving your decisions. So then transition cow management, we'll touch on this pretty quick. Here's just some rough goals. Milk fever should be less than 3%, and that's third lactation cows. Ketosis less than 10%, retains less than 8%, metritis less than 10%, DAs less than 2%. Death in the first 30 days less than 5%, this is of total calls. And mastitis in the first 90 days less than 20%. To give you an economic value how that works out, this was a farm that was hanging on to cows and having a difficult time keeping their barn full, even though they had a low call rate, 27%. If they had a cow that we lost in the first 60 days, okay, and she didn't have a heifer calf, the loss to that dairy was around